Black Scholars Matter, Engaging Black Scholars, is a project that the Stark State College Institute of Management Accountants Student Club is pursuing for the academic year of 2021.
Hi, my name is Andrew DuBois. I'm treasurer of the IMA Student Club here at Stark State. Currently in his 16th year at Stark State College, Dwayne Dodson is an assistant professor of English as well as contact and instructional resource for English language learners at the college. He serves as well on the school's Diversity and Inclusion Task Force. On the community fronts, Dodson is on his yearly special music schedule as soloist for 3 Massillon Canton area churches and the annual judge for Massillon Public Library Poetry Contest. He performs yearly in a dramatic walk-in tour production focusing on the Underground Railroad, which provided sanctuary for slaves in Massillon. Dodson, a public speaker and community actor, has portrayed Wright Walker, a noted former slave and Massillon luminary, on Voices of 4th Street, a local radio production highlighting the historical importance of downtown Massillon, and he will be performing in an upcoming Readers Theater production in Massillon. One of his poems was featured in Stark State's Spring 2020 graduation program, and he has also read poems he wrote for the graduates as part of SSC's virtual graduation program. Along with writing poetry, Professor Dodson loves to teach. One of his favorite quotes is, "The best teachers are those who show you where to look, but don't tell you what to see."
I believe that education is the key to pretty much everything. Knowledge is power, and people who are educated have more than knowledge. Someone said that knowledge is what you have left when you've forgotten all you've learned. And what I believe they mean by that is that you can have a set of facts, individual facts, but not know what to do with them. Facts have to be integrated. They have to be analyzed, they have to be interpreted, and more importantly, they really need to be inculcated into your own intellectual viewpoint, your own set of experiences, your own perspective. So the more knowledge you have, the better armed you are to move through your path in the world, and it's also a very transcendent concept to the extent that it does not matter what you learn. Obviously, people have their own strengths and their own preferences, but I think it's important to be intellectually curious about all things, because I'm a great believer in the organic nature of things and the power of individuals who are knowledgeable to interact more effectively with everything that's going on in the world around them. So I think knowledge is important because it makes you powerful, and it provides you with the tools that you need to be successful, irrespective of the path in the world that you have chosen. People who do not who do not seek to learn, people who are my way or the highway kind of people, lose out. And the reason that they lose out is that they don't recognize that we are limited as individuals. We have one perspective, one viewpoint, and when you receive viewpoints from other people, other sources, especially sources that are experts or sources that are knowledgeable, then it broadens your horizons, increases your perspective, and it makes you much, much better suited and better equipped to be successful regardless of the field of endeavor you choose. I believe that education breaks down barriers by removing probably the greatest barrier or impediment of all, which is ignorance. People who are ignorant have a tendency to be fearful of things that they don't know. And then they have a tendency to make their own assumptions, and prejudice and stereotype comes into play in the sense that if you are not educated, all you have in terms of the way that you perceive or understand something is limited by the small amount with which you've come in contact. So the more you come in contact with, and we come in contact, we're exposed to different things via education, and the more you come in contact with, the more open, the more tolerant you are. And the more tolerant you are, the better equipped you will be to understand something that you don't know, or more importantly, seek knowledge. I believe that in our lives we should be either learners or teachers, and ideally both. And I think to the extent that we are both learners and teachers, which means we recognize the importance of education, then we become solidified. You can become solidified with someone if that person's perspective is a perspective based on ignorance, and you share your knowledge with that individual, and then once that knowledge is shared, then you can operate on the basis of a common set of facts. We have our right to our own opinions, but we don't have a right to our own facts. And if we are communicating about an issue and we have a different set of facts, then we're simply going to be butting heads. But if we have a shared set of facts and we're also open to each other's perspectives, then we can become solidified and we can remove the barriers of ignorance. And that, I believe, is how we move forward as a people, as a community, as a nation, as a world. I think that people who are talented and gifted in certain areas have it easy, but I also think that they have a responsibility, and that responsibility is to combine work ethic with whatever your natural propensity is. And I recognized early on in my teaching career that it was easy for me to teach, but because it was so easy, I was not often putting forth the effort that I needed in order to do the very best job that I could. So I think that my greatest accomplishment was reaching a point where I recognized that if you have a talent or a gift or a natural skill in a certain area, that in and of itself is not enough. You need to combine that with work ethic. And once I realized that work ethic must be combined and that professional integrity must be combined with whatever my natural skill was, then things became much more gratifying to me, and I think I became much more successful, much more productive in the classroom, because I was living up to a higher standard. I wasn't simply coasting on the basis of my natural ability. I was utilizing my work ethic. I was utilizing my sense of professional integrity and matching that with my skill set. And that made me much more effective as a teacher, and even more importantly, it allowed me to meet my primary commitment, which is to do the very best job I can for my students. I think my greatest obstacle was when I realized that it wasn't all about me. I thought for a long time that if someone asked me to do something, I really had a binary choice. Either I wanted to do it or I didn't want to do it. And it took a while for me to understand that that perspective was really a self-serving perspective, and it was really an obstacle that I had to overcome. And so the way I overcame it was I thought in terms of what my charge is as an individual, as a person, as a teacher, and I realized that my charge is to do what I can to help other people. And that helped me to change my perspective and overcome the obstacle of self-interest and recognize that if I were asked to do something, my first question should not be, do I want to do this or do I not want to do this? My first question should be, can I help someone else if I do this? And what sacrifice am I willing to make in order to help other people? And once I realized that that was the perspective I needed to take, then I began to feel much more gratified. I accepted a lot of things that I probably would not otherwise have accepted because I was not focused on whether I wanted to take the time to do it or whether it served me. I was more concerned at that point as with how it would help someone else. And obviously I cannot accept everything. I can't do everything. Obviously life is about balance and perspective and priorities, but I think that to the extent that I can help someone else, it behooves me to make that my primary consideration. It took me a while to realize that. It was indeed an obstacle because I think we think in terms of, do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this? As opposed to, how can I help someone and what sacrifice am I willing to make to help other people? And I think once you view the world that way, then you really have taken away the biggest obstacle, not only to success and achievement, but you become much more self-actualized, and I think also if a lot of people looked at life and looked at the world in that way, then we would proceed with each other in the work world, in our personal world, in our family lives, in a much more self-actualized way. I think the advice that I would give to a Black scholar is the same advice I would give to any scholar. The difference may be simply that African American students and scholars may need to work harder in order to realize the results that they're looking for. And that advice would be, colloquially, hang in there. Don't give up. Be persistent. Know where you're going. Have a focus. Know where you've been, because that will give you motivation to move ahead. But persistence and consistency is very important. I always tell my students that the first week of classes that you're in the right place and you're doing the right thing. The question now is, how long will you continue to do the right thing? Slow and steady wins the race. So the idea is that obviously you have to have a focus, you have to have an objective, you need to be headed in a specific direction, but the temptation will be to stop when things get hard. The temptation will be to turn back when you hit an obstacle that is difficult or something that you haven't seen before. What you have to do at all costs is to find a way to succeed and recognize that failure is not in falling. We all fall. Failure is falling down and staying down, not getting up again. So my advice would be for you to recognize that it's not going to be easy to be successful, but nothing worthwhile is ever easy. The idea is that if you want success, you have to be willing to work for it. Recognize what resources are available to you, utilize those resources, but keep going at all costs. Do not allow anyone to derail you from your goal or objective, irrespective of what the difficulty may be that you encounter. Know that there will always be people who will support you. You may have to find them, and you may have to be willing to swallow your pride to ask for that help. But as long as you are willing to ask for that assistance, someone will be there to aid you. So keep going at all costs, and ultimately, slow and steady wins the race.
Thank you for your time. We hope you enjoyed the video, and please like and follow us on Facebook or Twitter at our site, Black Scholars Matter, Engaging Black Scholars. Again, thank you from the Institute of Management Accountants Student Club at Stark State College.